The stillness of the night is often the hardest part of a shift. The quiet that stretches out before you, as if the world itself has stopped moving, leaving only the sound of your breath and the hum of the machines around you. It's in these quiet, lonely hours that the mind can wander, and that's when the strange things begin to happen. Things that don't make sense, things that can't be explained, and things that crawl out from the shadows, waiting for you to notice. Welcome to Silent Screams. This is a place where the unexplained takes center stage. A place where the darkest corners of the human experience come alive, and the terrifying truth is that these stories are not born from imagination, they're pulled from the terrifying reality of those who have lived through them. These are the true accounts of night shift workers, people just like you and me, who have experienced the horror that comes when the world sleeps but something else wakes. I want you to imagine, for a moment, that it's your first night on the job. Maybe you're working the graveyard shift at a small convenience store, or maybe it's a security post in a nearly abandoned office building. The hours stretch endlessly ahead of you, the clock ticks so slowly that it feels like it's mocking you. The night is thick with silence, but you don't feel safe. No, you feel watched, almost as if someone, something, is just waiting for you to slip, waiting for you to make a mistake, waiting for you to feel the cold fingers of fear brush across your spine. You try to shake off the unease, but the air is heavy, oppressive, and there's an odd smell in the air. It's faint, but it's there. Maybe you're not alone after all. At least, that's what you start to wonder right around the time the lights flicker for the first time. You tell yourself it's just a power issue. Happens all the time. You've read about it. It's nothing, you think, as you glance over at the door. Then, you hear it. A sound, distant, yet so close. It's the faintest of taps, like nails scratching against glass, or a low murmur, just below the threshold of hearing, like someone trying to speak to you through a wall. You pause. There's no one here. It's just you. You tell yourself this again and again, but the hairs on the back of your neck are standing up now, your breath coming just a little quicker. And then, you see it. A figure, standing in the far corner of the room. It's a shadow, dark against the pale walls. A figure that wasn't there a second ago. You blink, but it's still there. Tall, thin, and somehow wrong. Like something that shouldn't be, but is. Your heart races. You open your mouth to speak, to call out, but no sound comes. Your mind is screaming, but your body is frozen, locked in place, like you're caught in a nightmare where everything is happening just a little too slowly. Then, as if the figure is aware of your fear, it starts to move. It doesn't walk, no. It glides, silently, its limbs too long, its body too distorted, like a marionette with tangled strings. You want to look away, but you can't. You can't tear your eyes from it, even as it moves closer, closer until it's standing in front of you, its cold, dead eyes staring down at you with an intensity that feels like it's pulling you into the abyss. And just before you can scream, before you can run, it vanishes. Gone. Just like that. Your pulse is hammering in your ears, you're breathing ragged. You look around, and the room is empty. Silent. No figure, no shadow, no sign of anything being amiss. You wonder if you imagine it, if your mind played tricks on you in the dark. But deep down, you know you didn't. You know what you saw. And you know it wasn't human. You sit there for what feels like an eternity, staring at the empty space, unsure of whether to laugh or cry. Your mind is a storm of confusion, and you know, deep in your gut, that something's wrong, something much deeper than you ever expected. You were supposed to be safe. You were just doing your job. But now, it feels as though your shift has just begun. And there's no going back. A few weeks later, after the first experience, you begin to think that maybe the place is just haunted. It's not so much of a revelation as it is an uneasy acceptance. The strange things are happening more frequently now. The flickering lights? Not just a malfunction anymore. It's like the electricity itself has become a little unpredictable. Objects shift on their own. Things fall, but there's no reason. You're not sure if you're losing your grip on reality or if something else is happening. But you've started to notice a pattern. Every time you feel that shiver on your spine, something happens. Every time you catch that fleeting glimpse of movement out of the corner of your eye, something watches. It's late. It's always late when it happens. The quiet hum of the machines and the ticking of the clock are your only company. Your coworker, who you see every night, isn't here tonight. She had to leave early. It's just you. Just you and the darkness. But it's not just darkness anymore, is it? You hear the tap again. Soft. Barely audible. You don't look up immediately. You know you can't let your mind wander. Not again. But it comes again. Louder this time. Almost impatient. You glance around, and that's when you see it. The door. It's cracked open, just a little. A thin sliver of darkness waiting for you to notice. You didn't leave it open. You're certain of that. You closed it before you sat down, locked it. A chill runs through you as the air grows colder. It's not just the temperature. The air feels thick, as if it's pressing in on you, squeezing the life from you. You stand up, hesitant, unsure whether to investigate or run. But curiosity, or maybe something darker, pulls you forward. You approach the door, the sound of your footsteps muffled by the growing silence. Your hand reaches out, trembling as it grips the cold metal of the doorknob. You twist it slowly, and the door creaks open. There's nothing. The hallway is empty, save for the dim light that flickers above, casting long, dark shadows along the walls. No one's there. There's nothing but a quiet that feels wrong. But then you hear it. A voice. Soft. Faint. As if coming from the other side of the wall. You strain to listen. It's a whisper, barely audible. Help me. You freeze. The words send a ripple of terror through you, and your breath catches in your throat. You've never heard that voice before. Before you can react, the lights go out. The hallway is plunged into darkness. You stand there, heart pounding, knowing you're not alone anymore. But who, or what, is with you now? The whispering voice, it's still there. Close now. Too close. The temperature drops, and the darkness feels alive, closing in, suffocating. Something is moving toward you in the shadows, something cold, something ancient. Something that doesn't belong. And that's when you realize it, it's been waiting for you. You stand frozen, your hands still gripping the cold doorknob, the darkness around you thick and suffocating. The whisper, it's close now, too close. Your pulse is a frantic drumbeat in your ears, but you can't move. You can't breathe. Your legs feel like they're made of stone, weighed down by the overwhelming presence of something that is inhuman, something that's been waiting, lurking, just out of sight, patiently watching you. Help me. The voice comes again, this time louder, clearer, and far more desperate. You can feel it vibrating through the walls, as though the very air is alive with its unearthly urgency. It's not coming from the hallway, no, it's coming from behind you. From the shadowed corner of the room where you first saw the figure weeks ago. The very corner you tried to forget. You turn slowly, your neck stiff, unwilling to let go of the door just yet. But when you do, when you force yourself to turn fully, the room is still empty. Still silent, save for the soft hum of the machines in the background. You look around, eyes darting across every inch of the room, but there's nothing there. No figure, no shadow, no sign of movement at all. But then you hear it again. A tap. Soft. Deliberate. As if something or someone is trying to draw your attention to the farthest corner of the room. You glance over at the corner once more. The shadows are longer now, darker, deeper. You can feel them stretching, slowly creeping toward you, pulling the light away, stealing the warmth. It's like the darkness itself is becoming something tangible. You take a step back, your breath shallow and quick. Then another. And another, until you're almost at the door, one hand still gripping the knob. But the air has changed again. It's no longer cold, it's thick, like you're wading through something viscous, something sticky, and the whisper has turned into something else entirely, a low, guttural growl. It doesn't sound like a human voice anymore. It's distorted, like 1,000 voices echoing through some unseen cavern, all begging, pleading, crying out for help. You jerk your head back toward the corner of the room, but now something has changed. The darkness isn't just sitting there, dormant. It's moving. Slowly, it shifts. The shadows appear to ripple, like a liquid, swirling in on themselves, twisting into a shape that is becoming more and more distinct. A figure begins to take form, rising from the ground like smoke, long limbs extending and twisting unnaturally, as if made of something otherworldly, something that shouldn't be. It's tall, impossibly tall, its body thin and skeletal. Its face, or what might pass for a face, is featureless, just a smooth expanse of pale skin that seems to absorb all light, as if the very existence of it is a contradiction to reality. Its eyes, or what should be eyes, are just two deep, black voids. Nothingness. Empty holes. It doesn't move like a person. It doesn't walk. It glides. It drifts across the room, its presence pulling the light away from the walls, leaving only that oppressive shadow in its wake. The air around you feels heavier now, the silence deafening, broken only by your ragged breathing, and the growl that grows louder, stronger, as the figure moves toward you, closer and closer, until it's standing right in front of you. You open your mouth to scream, but no sound comes. Your throat is dry, constricted, as if something, some force, is pressing against it, squeezing the air from your lungs. The figure looms over you, towering, blocking out the last vestiges of light in the room. You can feel its coldness radiating toward you, feel it sinking into your skin, into your very bones. The growl becomes a hiss, like the sound of something crawling across the floor, too close, far too close. You want to run, to scream, to escape, but you can't move. You're rooted to the spot, paralyzed by the sheer presence of it. And then, in a voice that makes your skin crawl, it speaks. Why are you here? The words are twisted, guttural, as though it's trying to form them from the depths of a dark, ancient language you can't understand. The sound of it vibrates through your chest, as if the room itself is speaking to you, its walls alive with the energy of the entity standing before you. You try to answer, but your voice is lost. It's as if the air itself is sucking it away, swallowing every sound you attempt to make. The entity tilts its head, its dark, featureless face coming even closer to yours, until you can feel its breath, or what could be its breath, on your skin. It smells of decay, of rot, of something long dead. "Do you hear me?" It asks again, its voice now higher, sharper, more insistent. You nod, though you don't know why. The fear has made your body move against your will. The creature leans closer, its form flickering like a broken image on a television screen. Then, suddenly, it stops. It's still, almost as if waiting for something. The silence stretches on, thick and heavy, until it feels like you've been standing in this moment forever, trapped in a timeless void. Then, without warning, it moves. The figure moves so fast, so violently, that for a moment you think your heart might stop. It lunges forward, its hands, or what might be hands, grabbing at your shoulders. They're cold, too cold, and when they touch you, the world around you seems to shift. The room blurs, the walls bend and twist, and everything becomes an overwhelming rush of sensation and sound. The growling, the whispering, the feeling of something crawling inside you, it all becomes too much. You scream. Finally. But it's a sound that feels alien, a scream that doesn't belong to you. It's not your voice anymore. And then, the lights flicker again. The figure stops, its hands still gripping your shoulders, but its eyes, those dark, empty voids, seem to hesitate. It feels as though it's watching you, studying you, as if it's trying to figure out what you are. It knows you're afraid. It knows you want to run. But it doesn't let go. Not yet. The whispering grows louder, the growls mingling with strange, unintelligible sounds. The room is spinning now, the air thick with an unnatural pressure that makes your head feel like it's about to implode. You're dizzy, nauseous, and the world around you is distorting, warping into something unrecognizable. And then, suddenly, it stops. The figure releases you, stepping back just enough for you to catch your breath. The growl fades into a low hum, and the whispering turns into something else, a soft, mocking laugh that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The shadows that had been pressing in on you recede, but the room still feels wrong. It still feels like you're not alone. You try to move. Your legs feel like jelly, but you force yourself to take a step back, then another, until your back is pressed against the wall. You don't know what to do, don't know where to go. The figure hasn't disappeared, it hasn't left. It's still here, watching, waiting. And you realize, whatever this thing is, it's not just haunting this place. No, it's been here for a long time. It's been waiting for someone like you. Someone who's foolish enough to stay past midnight. Someone who's naive enough to think that the night shift would be just another boring job. But it's not. Not anymore. And you're just another victim of the darkness that haunts these walls. You open your mouth again. This time to say something, anything, but your voice falters. It's like the air itself is choking you, drowning out every attempt to speak. You look at the door, but the hallway outside is no longer the hallway you remember. It's different. The walls are cracked, covered in dark stains. The flickering light is the only thing illuminating the path, casting long, stretching shadows that seem to move of their own accord. And then, from somewhere deep within the darkness, you hear it again. Help me. The voice is soft, weak. But it's not coming from the figure anymore. It's coming from behind you. And you turn, knowing, just knowing, that you are no longer alone.